In the frigid wilderness of Alaska, a man unintentionally changed the fate of an entire wolf family. It was a radiant spring day. John, a gold prospector, was wandering along a creek on the island, searching for fortune. But luck did not come in the form of gold or silver. Instead, it arrived as a miraculous story that would be etched into his memory for life. As he stepped out of the forest, John suddenly froze. Barely 6 meters away from him, a large wolf was trapped in a muddy patch, its front leg caught tightly in a steel trap. John quickly realized this was the trap of his late hunting friend, George, who had passed away not long ago. If he hadn't come by today, the wolf surely wouldn't have survived. Cold winds swept through the wild forest, carrying thin snowflakes that drifted sparsely to the ground under the pale moonlight. John crouched down, observing the trembling creature before him. It was a she-wolf, with silver-gray fur speckled with snow. Her once sharp, fierce eyes were now filled only with fear. Her front leg was ensnared in a metal trap, and she growled weakly as he moved closer. John sensed something different. The wolf's demeanor was no longer aggressive, only exhausted and anxious. Her eyes were filled with pain, but held no hatred. Suddenly, his gaze stopped at her swollen belly, a discovery that made his heart race. She was a mother wolf, which meant that somewhere in the cold, desolate forest, her pups were waiting for her, likely starving and desperate for milk. John clenched his teeth, knowing he couldn't free her immediately. If he released her while she was still panicked, she might attack him to protect her pups. Instead, he needed to find her cubs first, and gradually earn her trust. Following faint paw prints in the soft snow, John traced the mother wolf's steps before she was caught. His journey took him through snow-covered underbrush, up slippery rocky slopes, sometimes pausing to squint and examine tiny traces. Finally, beneath a massive fir tree, he discovered a small den, dark inside. Silently watching, John remained still, then softly let out a high-pitched howl, mimicking the call of a mother wolf. At first, nothing happened. But after a while, and with patient persistence, 4 tiny heads peeked out from the shadows. They were wolf pups, with soft, sleek fur and round eyes, dulled by hunger. They silently observed him, sniffing the air, then let out faint, fragile whimpers. When John pointed to them, one hesitantly approached, licking his finger, seeking milk. They were far too young, perhaps only a few weeks old. Without hesitation, John gently lifted each pup, placing them into the cloth bag he always carried, then made his way back to the mother wolf. Upon seeing him, she grew tense, tugging fiercely at the trap chain, whining with worry. But the moment she recognized her crying pups, she immediately curled around them, ignoring John's presence. He stood witness to a deeply moving reunion as the little wolves nestled into their mother's body, nursing eagerly, while the she-wolf licked each one, checking for injuries. Still, John couldn't yet approach to remove the trap. Each time he tried, she growled defensively, wild eyes flashing with caution. He knew he had to earn her trust first. For the next 5 days, John stayed in the area. He searched for food for the wolf family, managing to retrieve some deer meat from a carcass in the woods. At night, he built a small fire nearby to keep warm and help the mother wolf grow accustomed to his presence. Every morning, he awoke to find the 4 pups toddling around him, sniffing curiously at the strange but friendly man. Only the mother wolf still kept her distance, watching him warily. John didn't rush. Each day, he tossed bits of meat toward her and sat quietly, waiting. Gradually, the mother wolf became less tense whenever he came close. On the 5th day, a miracle occurred. As John laid down a piece of meat, he noticed her tail gently wag, a small gesture, but for a wild animal, it was a sign of acceptance. That night, when silence enveloped the forest, John decided to try one final time. He approached slowly, placing his hand on her trapped leg. She tensed, but this time, she neither growled nor resisted. With skilled hands, John carefully opened the steel trap, freeing the poor creature. He expected her to dash into the forest immediately, but she didn't. Instead, she stood silently, gazing at him with deep, golden eyes. Then, to John's astonishment, she lowered her head and gently licked his hand, a gesture of trust no wild wolf had ever dared to make. Only after that did she call her pups, leading them softly back into the depths of the forest. 5 years later, John returned to Alaska after a brutal war. He went back to the forest where he once had a fateful encounter. As he walked past the familiar stream near CR, he found a rusty trap, a trace of a memory that could never fade. A strange feeling urged him to go to the mountain meadow where he had once parted ways with the wolf pack. Standing in the middle of the vast wilderness, he raised his face to the sky and let out a long howl, just like he had done before. At first, only silence answered him. But then, from deep within the forest, another howl echoed. John called out once more, and this time, from within the shadows, a familiar figure appeared, a large, powerful wolf with silver-gray fur. It silently approached him, stopping to gently wag its tail, the same gesture it had once made to signal trust. John smiled. Without a single word, he knew this was the mother wolf he had once saved. Just like before, the wolf turned away, leading her pups back into the darkness. But this time, John didn't feel sadness in the parting, because he knew that a part of his soul would forever belong to that wild forest. No one knows if this story is real or not, but one thing is certain: the bond between humans and animals can sometimes go far beyond the limits of instinct. Have you ever had a special connection with an animal? Share your story in the comments below. If you enjoy inspiring stories like this, don't forget to like and follow the channel so you won't miss the next video.